I never got a chance to finish telling you the story about Skull Crusher and his little lightsaber shaver thing, because the phone rang. But anyways, so I said to Skull Crusher, I said, God, I want one of those. He said, let me borrow that thing. And he was like, no. And I said, let me borrow that for just a minute or two. And he was like, no. And I said to him, well, why not? And he said, because you are always teasing me on YouTube. And I said, oh, come on, just let me borrow it. I said, I wouldn't bother teasing you if I didn't like you and stuff. He said, well, I'm not letting you borrow it. And I said, I was feeling a little cocky that night. I thought, you want me to kick your ass? I said, I'll take that thing away from you if you don't give it to me and let me borrow it. And he said, oh, really? So, and he took that little lightsaber shaver thing like that, and he put it right here in his forearm like this, in that big, massive, muscled arm of his, and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, huh, punk? Why don't you try to just come and get it? And I was like, oh, are you challenging me? I said, take me, I said, you're on, motherfucker. You're on. And I grabbed his arm like this, and I started pulling on it. You son of a bitch. And I was cussing at him. I was really trash talking him big time, going, give that thing up. I want to borrow it. And I was like, doing like this, and trying to get my knee in there. He's a pretty big boy, and if he puts something there in his arm and he doesn't want you to have it, you got a pretty big job ahead of you, So, whoa, let me catch my breath there. I was halfway exhausted, and I said to him, because he was just sitting there like this, trapped in there, and I said, all right, whatever. I don't care. I give up. Who wants to borrow your dumb old lightsaber shaver thingy anyway, And so I turned away like that, and he started to let his guard down, and I spun around real quick and tried pulling it again. And, when you got deltoids and biceps that big, you'd think you'd be smart enough to give up, But I said, all right, you win. I don't want to borrow it anymore. It's fine. You can relax. Just put it back in your little shaving kit. I said, I have regular razors. I can trim the sloppy edge of my beard myself. I don't need your dumb little lightsaber shaver thing anyway. So whatever. And I turned away like this. And then he spun back real quick and tried pulling on his arm. And he's so goddamn strong. It was just impossible. So I said, all right. 3 strikes, I gave it a good shot. I tried. Whatever. I said, you just be careful. Try not to hurt yourself with that thing. So, anyway. This past week at the gym, I've been really working on bicep curls and stuff like that, because I swear to God, one day he's going to be shaving with that thing, and he's not going to see me coming, and I'm going to sneak up behind him, and I'm going to take that thing away from him, and I'm going to stick it in my arm and go, yeah, you big-ass beef pie, huh? You want your little lightsaber shaver shit thing back? Well, good luck getting it. Someday. It might take a decade or two, but I swear to God, someday, he's going to have to struggle to try to pry my biceps open. That's it for today's episode of I on Beef.